All right, everybody, let's head downstairs. Just give us a moment. The stream is going to be a little bit shaky tonight. I do apologize for that. But we will try our best. Let me see if I can extend this a little bit. All right, team, we are here live from New York City. We are right here at Canal Street on the corner of Broadway as well. Now, I do want to apologize. We don't have the gimbal tonight, so the stream is going to be a little bit shaky for everybody, so I apologize if I'm making you seasick. But let's see who we have in the chat. I see Bree Grams, I see Fred X, Kathy Lyons. Good to see you. Paul Tricky, Savi. Welcome, always a pleasure. I see Dusty Cole, Vinny Castellano, Lily, Wendy England. Good to see everybody. John. Now, I think what we're going to do tonight, since we are starting a little bit late, we're going to try our best to make our way on time back to the train, 34th Street, Pennsylvania Station. Now, as we know, we've been going through a ton of issues with the live streaming softwares, so we're sort of bootlegging it tonight. And yeah, we'll sort of take it from there. But hopefully you guys are having a good Tuesday, good holiday season. The city was a lot more, I would say, alive today than yesterday. Seems as if, we've been talking about this on the stream, it seems as if now that we are in a hybrid work sort of environment, especially now towards the holidays, it seems as if a lot of people are choosing to come to work on Tuesdays, usually Tuesdays and Thursdays, and the rest of the times it is work from home. This is one of the famous alleyways that you'll usually see in movies, TV shows and everything. Yeah, Wendy, I know. First the microphone, now the gimbal. Hilarious. Dan Zank says, Tom, how was your day? Day was pretty good, not gonna lie. Got a lot done. Got a lot of stuff done. Sparks Carnival says, Nike after hours, whoosh. Yeah, so they reported a good quarter. Who else reported after the bell? I think FedEx reported after the closing bell too. I think they beat earnings, but I was so busy today, I couldn't really look into it. I think they beat, but still, I think their CEO came on the call and said something along the lines that they're still looking to cut a lot of expenses, and I think they even announced some more layoffs too, if I'm not mistaken. But Vinny Castellanos is driving into blizzard conditions here in Iowa. Jesus. Yeah, so what is going on with, I think we're going to get like a big polar vortex. I think half the country is going to get buried in snow, and then the other half is just going to get brutal temperatures. This is Walker Street. We're going to be headed uptown. Now, here's the other thing, too. I think in some parts of the country, they're going to be seeing about negative 70 degrees, which I don't even know how that's possible. I think that may be some of the coldest temperatures on record, aside from, what they get in Antarctica with, negative 100 degree wind chills. That's insane. Paul Greenwell is here. Says today is National Caroling Day. Interesting. Says Sparks Carnival. Love that. Very cool. Now, it's going to be a short live stream. I'm just going to take you guys back to Moynihan train station tonight, but I'll show you Little Italy. Dollar, I think it was probably the one to watch for today. Now, we know that very, very late last night, the Bank of Japan did come out, and I think they held their interest rate steady in the negatives But I mean, I was thinking about it, and if we really, really sort of conceptualize this, even though we're in a very, very aggressive tightening cycle in the rest of the world, right, aside from Japan, we're still negative in terms of real rates. So I think that's just something we need to be cognizant of, because a lot of people are talking about a potential Fed pivot and trying to speculate on when that will be. But at the end of the day, I mean, if we really conceptualize it, we still have negative rates in real terms. So anyway, hopefully as inflation comes down, interest rates will turn positive. NPC 007 says Tom seems shook. Yeah, the stream is going to be a little shaky because we don't have the gimbal. So if the screen is shaking, that is definitely why. But we'll have it back tomorrow. I just forgot it this morning. This is Center Street. We are headed towards Chinatown. Very cold night out here in New York. Noel A says, hey, Tom and everybody, good to see you. Steph UH says, hello, everybody. Good to see you, Steph. Julia M, welcome. Fred X. Always good to see everybody. Yeah, sometimes I'll watch Twitch live streams, and for some reason it seems as if, and let me know if you guys see the same thing, everybody who tends to stream on Twitch, their streams, if they're doing walking streams, they're always like this, like very, very shaky. I don't know why. Enjoy Max is here. Welcome. So we're coming up to Chinatown. I'm going to show you guys the place that I ate lunch today. We don't have a dedicated topic for tonight's live stream. It was just too much of a crazy day for me, just dealing with nut jobs. Yeah, not nut jobs, just, some people. But tomorrow's going to be a big stream, because tomorrow is Wednesday, and that is when we are going to be hearing from the National Association of Home Builders as they report their existing home sales. Now, last night on the live stream, we talked very, very deeply and heavily about home builder sentiment. And obviously, for the 12th month in a row now, we have been having declining and decelerating sentiment as it relates to the home builders. And in the survey, almost the number one response as to why the sentiment is declining is the interest rate environment, in which case we just got an additional 50 basis point rate hike from the Fed. So obviously that makes the cost of capital higher. And as we've been looking at a lot of the leading indicators and the coincident indicators, it seems as if Americans as a whole has at least slowed down a little bit on buying homes, right? And I think we're going to see that same exact thing in the data tomorrow. So this is the corner of Mulberry Street. Hey, Bree Grams, what's up? This is, I did a lot of tasks today. Legal department of a movie theater company is busy. Wow. Very cool. Ryan Royal is here. Good to see you, Ryan. Welcome. Sally, good to see you. So Mulberry Street, Canal Street. This is looking towards Little Italy, where we are going to be walking towards through Chinatown and then back up. Hey, Cosmo Scary, what's up? Yeah, so Cosmo, it was crazy, the World Cup. I was in Miami, but more specifically in the neighborhood, it's called Little Buenos Aires, and it was really, really cool. I mean, there must have been thousands of people on the streets. It was just a crazy experience. It was almost like, I mean, the only way I could describe it was almost like being in Argentina, right? And before I moved to Miami, I really didn't know that there was that big of a community there. But supposedly, for those of you unfamiliar with Miami, If you go to 72nd Street and Collins, all the way up to about 86th Street and Collins Avenue, the entire block is Little Buenos Aires. Never really knew that. Now, there's a ton of Argentine restaurants, but there's also a lot of Cuban restaurants too in that area, which I like. 3T3 says the 1.7 trillion bill they're trying to pass won't help inflation. Definitely not. You know, now that we're talking about inflation, well, we've been talking about it for quite some time, this reminds me of the very famous speech that an economist by the name of Milton Friedman gave. I think it was one of the economic institutes. I just forget the exact one. But he was very critical and says, look, really the only people who create inflation is governments, right? And I think in this country, and not just exclusive, I should say, to the United States of America, governments all over the world, right? They tend to, or in recent history, run really, really big and egregious deficits. Crazy, crazy deficit spending on both sides of the aisle, by the way. Both political parties, both the Republicans and the Democrats, are very, very good at wasting our money. So here we are in Chinatown. I've never eaten in this restaurant, but I would like to try it sometime. Laytha is here. Says hello, Tom, and everybody in the chat. Hope you're all staying warm. I wish the same for you, Laytha. Thank you for joining. Jay Peck says, the chat is still a little bit screwy. He says, Tom, should we be fearing the dreaded R word for 2023? I'm assuming that means recession. Look, I think that we were already in a recession, potentially emerging out of one, actually. Now, if you look at the traditional sense, and I'm going to point out two specific restaurants here. 69 Mott Street, 456 New Shanghai restaurant is fantastic. I always recommend this one. But I actually tried a new restaurant today, and I think it's actually a little bit better than that one. And it's called Ming Wong Restaurant. It's a couple buildings down, actually. It's 61 Mott Street. And this place is really, really fantastic. Now, I'm not sure if anybody else in the chat has been, but it is right here. This place is phenomenal. And it's really, really cheap, too. What did I get? I think I got wonton soup and beef lo mein for under $20. Pretty good. Speaking about inflation, that's pretty good prices. But look, if you're new to New York, I would say these two restaurants are probably the best, in my opinion, here in Chinatown. Hey, War Walker, good to see you. NPC 007, welcome. Selfridge, good to see you. Michael Joseph says 2 quarters of negative GDP. Didn't we already get that? We did. But there's a lot of nuance, right? And we've talked about this argument before, and I understand both sides, but here's where I think it gets a little bit kludgy, maybe for a lack of a better term here. But I think the recession argument, just like everything over the last, I would say probably 10 years, is gotten very, very politicized. So it almost seems as if people on the right in mainstream media and people on the left are rooting for polar opposites, right? To sort of confirm or deny their own political bias, if that makes sense. So if you turn on, let's say, for example, Fox Business or Fox News, right? They'll say, oh, we're already in a recession, the economy's doing terrible, all the same nonsense, right? If you turn on CNN, there'll be arguments saying, no, this is the strongest economy we've had, yada, yada, yada. I think it's important as traders and portfolio managers to look at things more objectively. But more important than that, look at all of these paper lanterns here in Chinatown. These are absolutely fantastic. They look absolutely beautiful. So for me, I characterize that we've been in a recession because of just the technicality of the two negative GDP prints, right? That is my reasoning. Now, it's not some political narrative, and I've said many times on the stream before that in my view, a recession is not the boogeyman, okay? It doesn't mean everybody's gonna die. It doesn't mean that, everybody's gonna go broke. That's not what it means, okay? It's 2 consecutive quarters of GDP contraction. Things happen. And additionally, I would also like to say this, if I may. Thinking objectively is so important, especially when you're managing material amounts of money, be it for your family or other investors. And, all right, really quick, this is going to be a really nice shot here. So I'll just quickly give you guys the street name. This is Pell Street in Mott, right here. But I think Pell Street may be one of my favorite streets for really nice views here in the city. Michael Joseph says, I've watched liberal and conservative media equally for the past 2 years, and it's amazing how every issue is the total opposite opinion. Yeah, I think that's just what drives the advertising dollars and the clicks, right? And here's what I would also like to say. For people who really, really understand the financial markets, presidents historically tend to take way too much credit when the market is doing well, and they tend to get way too much of the blame when markets are not doing well, right? And the number one driver, in my view, of the market is not the President of the United States. It's the Federal Reserve manipulating the business cycle, right? So if you are a president and you just so happen to, at the time of your presidency, fall under a category where the Federal Reserve chair tends to be extremely hawkish and is cutting rates, reducing the size of the balance sheet, well, then probably the economy is going to slow, probably corporate earnings are going to go down, and equity valuations are going to go down, right? And that's exactly what has happened. So I think it's a lot bigger picture than that, just to say, the stock market's going down, it's Trump's fault or it's Biden's fault. I think that's a little bit too easy. I think we apologize. Corey, good to see you. Will. Let me know in the chat if we're buffering a little bit. Usually we have pretty good internet service here. Ian, we don't have the gimbal today. That is why it's so shaky. We'll have it tomorrow. I apologize. Joseph Hardaway says they literally have a 2% effect on the market unless an event happens. Yeah, I mean, I even think that's not even... that's like a non-issue. And so we've reviewed this before, and I think it's important to review it again. But the main driver of the equity market in the United States is corporate earnings, right? And we have to then go back and do the work and understand, okay, well, what environment do corporations tend to thrive in that drives and powers earnings? Well, you look at the levers, and that all stems back to monetary policy, right? Fiscal policy as well, but I would argue more alongside monetary policy. And if you have, at times, we've had negative real rates, we still technically do, but when the Federal Reserve cuts rates to zero. Well, this allows corporations to go on a debt binge and acquire tons and tons of debt because it is essentially free, right? And then that provides tons of liquidity throughout the marketplace. This is corner of Bayard and Mott Street, by the way. And from there, they can use that money that they've borrowed to hire employees, right? Maybe they want to build another facility. Maybe if they're a trucking company, they could use that debt to buy more trucks. Things like that, investments. But when the cost of capital goes up, well, corporations are going to be like, oof, I don't know if I can make the interest payments on that debt. I'm going to hold back a little bit and I'm going to cut back, right? And especially now that we've had 14 years of extremely easy monetary policy, any little bit of hiking and reduction in the Fed balance sheet comes as a major shock to the system, right? So I've always sort of taken that stance, and somebody much smarter and wiser than me sort of taught me that, to say, look, don't really get caught up in the, political jargon nonsense. You got to focus on the drivers of the market, okay? It doesn't matter if, Jesus himself was president of the United States. If the Federal Reserve wants to, take the Fed funds rate from 0 to 7, that's going to have a material impact on the market. It doesn't matter if it's God Almighty himself that's sitting in the White House, right? Hey, NPC 007 says Tesla stock down 50% over the highs. What are your thoughts? Yeah, I mean, NPC 007, we've been talking about this for a while. You make a good point. I think that Tesla, and I've posted about this on Twitter very frequently. If you want to check out sort of what I've posted there, you could follow Walks Wall Street. I'll show you this building here, really cool. Now, Tesla stock was really just a big liquidity, driven by liquidity, right? So again, when you have a stock that trades at a premium to others in its sector, right? So if you think about Tesla's PE or its valuation relative to like a General Motors or any other car company, well, how long do you think Tesla deserves that premium valuation? Well, it's probably going to deserve the premium valuation when liquidity is flying throughout the market, right? But when we are in a different monetary environment, the stock is going to get clocked, right? And this thing has been living below its 50 and its 200 day, carving out one of the largest distribution type topping patterns I've ever seen in my life for months and months and months. I mean, the stock has given everybody way more than enough forewarning to get out of this thing. And, as we talked about on the other live streams, there's a lot of people trying to bottom fish and buy these stocks as they are falling. Here, let me stop right here. I'll show you guys. This is the One Vanderbilt building all the way in the distance. Pretty nice views here from Chinatown. And statistics show that once a true market leader tops or puts in its top for the bull cycle, very seldom does it go on to be the new true market leader in the next bull cycle. Yeah, Michael Joseph says Tesla looks exactly like a chart of Bitcoin when the bubble burst. Yeah, very similar like head and shoulders toppy pattern. Ian says so many subsidies for Tesla products, too much cheap money. That's another thing. That's another thing as well. A lot of the subsidy as it relates to, tax credits has really driven sales as well for these EVs. Now, a lot of people thought, look at this place. This looks like a really good dumpling place. Now, a lot of people thought early on that this new bill that passed, the Inflation Reduction Act, the big spending bill that's supposed to reduce inflation, they were using that as a potential bull catalyst for Tesla because you get, different tax write-offs and tax credits for buying EVs and things like that. But again, I think the more overarching is when the broader market turns, I like to use the analogy, it's very hard for a trout to swim up a waterfall, right? A trout can swim up a stream, but when you have the Niagara Falls pounding on you, usually the individual stocks flow with the market. If you look at the broader general trend in the S&P, the NASDAQ, and the Dow, 8 out of 10 stocks will follow the overall trajectory of the market. Here you have Vincent's here. So this is Mott and Hester Street. I'll give you guys a beautiful view of a lot of the old original buildings here that have the really beautiful fire escapes. I really like this style building. Steve CR says Tesla already a proven car, will outsell GM and Ford in electric vehicles. They probably will. I think you're right. FredX is great block. Good to see you, FredX. Zazo says Lucid Motors came out with a car that can beat Tesla. 9.1 second quarter mile. Interesting. I think I actually saw my first Lucid Motor EV in person in Miami. It was driving through the town in North Miami Beach. I never seen one on the road. Has anybody else in the chat ever seen like a Lucid vehicle, like physically on the road? I saw my first one the other day. It was actually kind of cool. Michael Joseph says, Tom, I'm personally caught in a Tesla position. Was swing trading it for fun, and it's either bottomed or about to go to $80, so not touching anymore until it clears out. Dr. Longiz said, will money from that bill go to EVs? Well, I'm not sure exactly the amount of the tax credit. I think it has to do with the weight of the vehicle. It's been so long since we've talked about it, I forget. Could anybody maybe look that up? I'm actually curious. I think it's for cars over, what is it, $50,000, then it tiers up or something like that. I forget. No, Michael Joseph says, has anybody seen a Rivian on the road? I haven't. Now, Jeff Bezos has a massive, stake in Rivian, right? Or Amazon does. All right, Mulberry Street, Hester Street. This is right in the heart of Little Italy. Matthew M says they're made in Illinois. Casadoma says, nope, but there are so many EV brands coming out. I bought some stock. Interesting. Steve CR says the bottom dollar Tesla is $35,000. Wow. That's actually a pretty good price. A bottom dollar Tesla for $35,000. I didn't know that, Steve. I always thought there were a lot more than that. But maybe that is just like the basic package. Enjoy Max says so many Canada Goose. Dan Zhang says I've seen a few Rivians. They're huge. I think those may be the more expensive type EVs. So Little Italy is all decked out for the holidays. Really, really nice. Yeah, Dr. Longus says $35,000 is not too bad. Not bad at all. Steph UH says, Tom, I saw an article that said electric cars are so heavy they could collapse parking garages if too many parked. That is very strange. I didn't know there was a big weight difference between EVs and regular sort of internal combustion engine vehicles. If anything, if I had to guess, I think they would be less, but maybe I'm wrong. August Ice says, I've seen a lot of Rivians on LA freeways. Well, I think the number one state that has the most adoption for EVs, I think, is California. And I think that's, I guess thinking about it, it may be pretty obvious, right? California tends to be one of the states that is more forward thinking in the environment, and a lot of environmentalists. This is a Nissan Pathfinder. Now, the Nissan Pathfinders in the mid 2000s, like 2008, 9. Now, I know cars obviously look different over 10 years, but the Pathfinders look completely different. The Pathfinders used to be these like roundish, ovally shapes. They used to look really, really bad in my view. Three T3 says Tesla's current start at 55K. Not counting any credits or discounts. I got it. Well, there's a big issue after the hurricane. Hurricane Ian, to be more exact, that a lot of EVs, but more specifically Teslas, obviously, because that is most of the market share, been catching fire. Supposedly, the EVs do not do well with salt water at all. They do really, really bad. So those have been catching fire, and they've been telling people to pull their EVs out of their garages. Selfridge says if there were only more of these diners playing Sinatra tunes, yeah. Sparks Carnival says, will energy stocks have another strong year in 2023? If I had to guess, I would say no, man. But again, could be wrong. But what do you guys think? Do you think that energy stocks are going to have another outperformance in 2023? If I had to guess, I would say no. Nicholas Sturr says, hey, Tom, personally, my opinion on electric vehicles is that they are not much better for the environment. Think about it. Where do you think they're going for the materials in those batteries? Yeah, so we've talked about that too. And I think, from an ESG perspective, and I really think that all of that is rather nonsense. But the reason why I bring it up is because we have to think about where we're sourcing all these rare earths, right? And I think a lot of politicians specifically, they like to get these little sound bites and clips just to say, oh, we are going to, cut off oil and gas 100% starting like today. So you have to defund them. They're telling the investment banks. But they really don't understand like the long-term picture and the long-term ramifications of doing that. If we actually did what these politicians were saying, such as defunding the oil and gas industry for no new drilling, you would have thousands and thousands of people die, literally. So I'm all for green transition, but I tend to take more of a Jamie Dimon approach. Like, we all agree that we want to take care of the environment. We all agree that we want a greener future for our kids. But we need to do it in a way that's sustainable, right? We need to do an easy transition, right? And we need to build the infrastructure first. And so to your point, where are we going to get a lot of these rare earths for these EVs, right? For the batteries. Well, if you look at where we currently get a lot of these rare earths, or where they're most abundant in the world, they tend to be in not too favorable places with really, really egregious human rights violations. Now, I think it may be cobalt or some other rare earth or precious metal that is most abundant in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, where journalists, I think from Vice, actually have proved, they did like an undercover sort of reporting on this, where they are mining at some of these mines with literal slave labor still, and child labor. So I think we need to be really, really cognizant of where we're getting this stuff, because you don't really want to, make a lot of these, let's just say, I'm going to say cartels for lack of understanding of what they actually are. They probably are operated by some sort of cartel. You don't really want to enrich these people and sort of, trying to be choice with my words. Yeah, you want to be sourcing this ethically. I guess that's how I would revise my statement. You want to make sure you're sourcing all of this ethically and not sort of taking advantage of other people and supporting inadvertently, child labor and slave labor over the world. I have a question for all of you. So now that we're on the topic of energy, we are supposedly going to have a really, really, I would say, brutal cold spell pouring across the United States this week. And in some parts of the US, we're going to have as low as negative 70 degrees in some parts of the United States. And that's definitely going to put a lot of stress and strain on the grid. And they're even saying in parts of Texas, it could get as low as negative 10 to negative 15 degrees. And we all know what happened before in Texas when the grid went out. Do we think it's possible for something like that to happen again this week? I mean, please God, but let me know what your guys' thoughts are. Yeah, Nina, you're correct. Will M says, I have also heard the electrical grid capacity needs to be almost quadruple in order to support EVs. Yep. Twitch ASMR says, yeah, it's going to happen for sure. Look, I think that should be declared a national security threat. And I think that should be our first priority, right? Because to be fair, right, I honestly don't think it's any one political party's fault. I really don't. I don't think it's the Democrats' fault, and I don't think it's the Republicans' fault. Here's what I think it is. If we're being honest, we just have a very, very old electrical grid. We have very, very old infrastructure in this country. And if you look to other countries around the world, they tend to have newer sort of infrastructure and technology because they were built more recent. Ours was built long, long time ago. So I think if, with all the crazy amount of money we spend as a country, I would support all of this crazy spending if I would say maybe 25 to 30% of it went just towards doing a full rip and replace of the grid. Because that is, I'll put it like this and let me know what you guys think. I always see people in this gelato place. I'm gonna have to try it sometime. This is sort of how I see it, right? So we hear on the news, me, you, everybody watching this chat, watching Walks on Wall Street, we know that the grid is, let's just use the term not healthy, right? And is susceptible to outages and failures. I think we could all agree with that. Doesn't matter what political party you stand on. You don't think that other countries are watching the same thing we're watching? I mean, it's not like we are closed off in our little own ecosystem here in the United States. So you don't think that other nefarious actors, may it be from other countries, or maybe they're even from, just other, I would say, specific groups, maybe hackers that are looking to exploit that and they know our vulnerabilities? I think that's a big issue. And I think our politicians are asleep at the wheel from that. FredEx says we're so vulnerable. Yeah. I mean, that's just my point, right? This is Mulberry Street. And once again, I'm trying to read all the comments, but we're struggling here tonight. Wow, Deborah S. says no propane lines down the road of people wanting to fill their tanks. Wow. Ryan Beck says there are countries out there that populate much more than the U.S. and have zero intent of changing anything, says Ryan Beck. I heard that too. So Michael Joseph says, Tom, someone shot up electrical plants in 3 states last week. I've been seeing a lot of that stuff on the news. What is going on with that? Now, please, I don't want to spark, because I was reading into it a little bit, and then I had to close the article I was reading because it was just so ridiculous. Yeah, I think people are catching on. I think it just goes to the point that I was just making, right? You know, people are starting to understand that the U.S. power grid is in trouble. And if you wanted to threaten the United States, wouldn't that be one of the things that you would target? I guess we'll just leave it there. This store is called ONS. Hey, Zozo Bob, what's up? Zozo Bob is from Miami, Florida. But even though we're getting this cold sprout, in the panhandle of Florida, there may be snowflakes. Isn't that crazy? And I think in Miami, Florida, it may get down to like 55 degrees, 50 or 55 degrees at night. Now, for those of you who are watching, many of you are like, okay, 55 degrees, that's not cold. For Miami, that's it's very cold. 55 degrees in Miami, Florida is freezing. Now, speaking about the weather, I have a little bit of a fun fact for you guys. You would think that Miami in the summer would be, 100 degrees, right? But did you know never in the history of Miami, Florida, has the temperature ever reached triple digits? It's actually hotter in New York than it is in Miami. In Miami, the temperature has never been 100 degrees ever. When I first found that out, I couldn't believe it. I'm like, wait, so there's some summer days in New York City that can get up to like 102 some years, and it's actually hotter than Miami, Florida. But it's the truth. Weird, but it's true. This is cool right here, this sort of like graffiti wall. Wow. Nina says, hey, Tom, it's been extremely cold here in Southern California. Not normal temperatures at all. So what are we talking? In Southern California, you guys never get snow, right? Almost never. Maybe once in 50 years. Ryan Iglesias says it will take 55 degrees here in Toronto now. Wow. Or I will take 55 degrees in Toronto, no problem. Yeah, it's... I think we had somebody in the chat yesterday say they always laugh when New Yorkers say that how brutal the winters are in New York. Now, obviously relative, right? I don't know how you guys do it in Canada, to be honest. I give you guys a ton of credit. Now, I have a really good friend on Twitter. I think he lives in the Calgary region. I'm probably butchering that name. I don't really know where it is geographically, but supposedly there's this highway. I guess it's very famous. Maybe our Canadian viewers will know. But there's this highway intersecting Calgary, and it is known as like a deadly highway where there's so much snow and ice that builds up. You get these massive pileups of all of those big rig 15-wheelers, 18-wheelers. Sent me a video of it. I was like, oh my God, I don't know how anybody could do that. Steve says it's 21 degrees in Vancouver right now. You know what I'm actually a little bit appalled of right now? Look at all this trash on this street. Now, to be fair, maybe there was like an event, but this seems like more than normal. It seems like the entire street is just garbage. Like it's like a trash bomb here. Now, maybe there was an event, maybe Sunday, but I've never seen this, like this much. That's a ton, man. And the smell isn't that pleasant. Hey, ATC, what's up? Good to see ATC. So we're approaching Prince Street. Prince Street is one of my favorite, on Prince Street Pizza, one of my favorite places in New York. Yeah, I don't know, maybe everybody, something must be going on, because this is just, seems like it's too much. Yeah, so we'll bang a right here on Prince and Mulberry. We'll actually keep walking up 2 more. So Mike MTL says, Tom, have you ever tried skiing? I just do not like snow sports at all, to be quite honest. Not a big fan of them. I tried it once as a kid. Here's the thing. With me, I think you really have to love winter. And as you guys know, I cannot stand winter. Look, I think it's just in my blood. I mean, my mom always loved summer, always at the beach. She hates the winter. I do too. I'm not saying winter's bad, right? Everybody has their own preferences. But if I had a choice for New York City to have only summer all year round, I would take that 100%. Even if that means it's like super hot and humid in New York, I would take that over the winter. What about you guys in the chat? Are you guys summer people, winter people, or do you like a mix of all the seasons? What do you think? Dusty Cole says, I prefer warmth. Same here, Tomcat. Yeah, Ninus is 100% too. I'm a summer person, yeah. Michael Joseph says, you only skateboarded, no snowboarding. Yeah, only skateboarding. Wendy England says, I like autumn. Wow, I'm actually surprised by the chat. We actually have a ton of summer people here. Shatoya Davis is a big winter. Jimmy Boyle says, I love all seasons. Matthew M is like spring, summer, and fall, but no winter. That's good too. I never thought about that. That'd be good. Isn't this character here from Courage the Cowardly Dog on, what is it called? You see the dog there at the tattoo shop? I think that's called Courage the Cowardly Dog, I believe. Will M says, Tom, you should do a mafia-themed walk. A lot of significant spots down there. Yeah, we definitely have a lot of cool spots. Now, I'm going to try to get the exact location of where my family actually used to own a lot of bars. So when my family first came to the United States, that was the business we were in. We were in the alcohol business. And I think the majority of our bars and speakeasies, right, going into Prohibition, when alcohol was banned, was right in and around the Times Square area. I'm going to try to get the exact locations. I think my grandmother knows, but I think it's 43rd and Broadway, I think. I'll go ask her. But yeah, a lot of notable gangsters used to come into the bar, like Jip the Blood from the Lenox Avenue gang. A lot of significance. All right, so here we are, Lafayette. We will make a right here, head uptown. Now, it's not as cold as I had expected tonight, and I think the reason for that is, thank God, it's not windy. Thank you, God. Yeah, Zozo Bob, it's funny, right? I know Twitch ASMR says maybe when Miami breaks 100 degrees, that's when we should all be worried. Absolutely. Now, the reason why I don't like winter is because I generally don't like the feeling of it being dark all the time. Now, if it was cold weather, but the sun was out as long as it is during the summer, then yeah, I would say, all right, that's a little bit better. But I mean, after about a month or so of just completely dark and freezing and nasty and rain, it's just like, oh my God. Someone says, yeah, winter is depressing. I'm gonna give you guys a shot of this building. It's one of my favorites right here near Bond Street. Hey, Revis, good to see you.
It was a roller coaster.
Hey, Nicole is here. What's up? Nicole is from a place where it is extremely warm all the time. LA, love that. Now, I've never been to LA. Definitely want to go visit. Now, at one point, I was thinking about, you know, if I were ever to establish two places to live, I was like, all right, one will be LA and one will be New York. But the flight is just way too long. Way, way too long. And also very, very expensive too. I think the thing I like about Miami is it's 2.5 hours and you're back in New York. So you could even do, if you wake up early enough, you could even do a one-day trip. You leave the house at 8, you're at Miami at 9, 9:30 flight, land at noon, and then do whatever you got to do, your meetings, and then come home, fly home. Hey, Vincent is here. Says, hey, Tom, love Christmas in New York. Good to see you, Vincent. I like it too. Convoy Patriot says, I don't run out to LA all the time. I'm a trucker, by the way. Hey, good to see you. We definitely need truckers. You guys definitely got us through the pandemic. So thank you for that, sir. Young Nation, welcome. Good to see you. W is here. Yeah, for those of you who just are joining, we don't have a topic for tonight. It was just a crazy day. We're having some technical difficulties with the stream, and we don't have the gimbal tonight. So we are just we're just hanging out tonight, just chilling. I'll take you guys back to Moynihan train station. But tomorrow is going to be a very, very busy day on Wall Street. An important day for the stream too. We're going to be covering a lot. We are going to be looking at the National Association of Home Builders report, or the National Association of Realtors, I apologize, as they release their existing home sales. Wow, Zozo Bob. I'm going to have to check that out. Kevin Ramsey, good to see you, my friend. Hope you're well on this freezing cold New York City night. Mike MTL says, Tom, what's your BMI with all this walking? I don't know. I haven't done it in a while. The only time I've ever, I guess, done that BMI or known it was during my college days, all the way back in college. But I don't even know. I don't know what it is. I'm going to try to guess. Okay, so I want to be GMO, says Tom. I checked the local real estate again after last night's live stream and was surprised. There's a lot more available than I've seen in a while. Prices are still double 2016 prices, though. Okay, so you're starting to see some inventory come onto the market. I want to be GMO. What state are you in where you're seeing that data? Vivian says it's pouring in Broward County, Florida. Oh, Oregon, wow. Okay. I'll give you guys a quick look at all the architecture here. Hey, Soho, says Tom, $45,000 a month in Soho. That's crazy. Uni J, good to see you. Abdullah, welcome. Only 8 trading days, I think, left in the market for the year. It's going to be 2023. It's insane. Now, I know that FedEx reported after the bell, and I think they're warning. I didn't get a chance to look at the entire report. I was just so busy today. But did they give a profit warning? Maybe somebody who was on the call today could give us some insight on that. But I know Nike beat. Once I get on the train, I'm going to have to look. Touring different places. Good to see you. Welcome. Hey, JPEG. Thank you so much for joining and have a fantastic night. All right, let's cross here where there's going to be the Wegmans coming out soon enough. Young Nation 92 says, where are we, downtown or midtown? So we just passed Astor Place, and we are walking in the direction of Union Square, 14th Street. And then we are going to be walking all the way to 34th Street. So we are coming from Soho, walking north. Hey, Cynthia Beale. Ooh, you have the flu. Please get well soon. You know, we were talking about this last night. It seems like everybody I know, literally everybody, is sick. All my friends are sick. My friend's wife is a school teacher, and she said almost everybody in her class is sick, and then she is sick. Looks like something's going around New York. But please get well soon. Andrea's Alpha says thoughts on ESG. We just talked about that. Hold on, I gotta put you guys down. I'm not a big fan of ESG. Let's just say that. Oops. Hey, Karina Thompson, good to see you. Wow, Julia. Very nice. Julia M says that you bought some artwork today. The shops at Bryant Park. Very nice. How are the prices there? Now, the Bryant Park Winter Village is fantastic. However, when I went there this year, you know, if we want to talk about inflation, pretty much almost everything there is doubled in price. But it's still a really nice place to go. Maybe if you go once for like a weekend or something. Now, I still have, I think like Julia, I bought 2 pieces of art. I'm not a big art collector, but I have 2 really nice pieces that I still have not shipped to Miami yet. And I need to do that. So I need to ship the 2 pieces of art, and I need to ship my real desk, my nice one, and I haven't done that yet. Things have just been too crazy. Hopefully I'll get that done by the end of the year.
And they're both going like
You know, maybe I'll show you guys someday those 2 pieces of art. Maybe I've already posted it on the YouTube community page, but they're really, really nice. It's one of them is a painting of the New York Stock Exchange. You can see George Washington, obviously, at Federal Hall. So it's a painting of the view of Federal Hall looking towards the New York Stock Exchange. And then the other one is this interesting 3D piece of art as well. Soho says, Tom, please post it again. I'm going to post it again. Number 1, I got to dig it out of the closet. That's number 1. Number 2, I got to box it up with bubble wrap and ship it. Hey, Vincent. Good to see you. Bernard Conte is here. Says, good evening, Tom, from Wisconsin. Whoa, it's 11 Celsius there. Very cold. Selfridge, it's kind of like that. You know, if you go to, I think if you go to the community tab on the channel here and you scroll all the way down, it may have been one of the first or second posts I've ever done, and you'll see it. It's a pretty nice piece. I don't spend money on art like that at all, but for some reason, like, these really caught my attention. And look, I'll have them in the family forever. Maybe I'll give them to my kids, you know, someday. Now, I didn't spend like 10 grand on each piece. Nothing crazy, but they were expensive for, you know, art. I'm not a big art guy. Nina says, Tom, community chat. So if you just click on the name Walks on Wall Street, like the channel, there should be multiple tabs, I think. It should say videos, lives, shorts, community, and then about. And I think it's under the community tab. Will M says, are they appreciating in value? I honestly couldn't tell you. I really don't know. And I don't think I would ever want to sell them either. Vivian says, I love art, was a commercial artist, but decided to go with finance for my career. Very nice. Love that. Now, I think what I want to do way down the line, one of the things I always wanted to do is build like almost a mini replica library. If you think about the internal architecture of the Morgan Library and also the New York Public Library, think that sort of like a mix. And that's what I sort of want to build. I want to build like an office/library sometime. Obviously not now, you know, maybe when I'm 40, 50. And I want to still have those two pieces of art to put in there. I'm just not really a big fan of the modern style libraries. I think it just looks better being like the more classic type. All right, so you're going to be able to see the Empire State Building again. And it looks really nice. It's all lit up for Hanukkah. For all of our Jewish viewers out there, happy Hanukkah. I think tonight is what? The third night, right? So Sunday night, Monday night, Tuesday night, third night, right? Roberts is like the Boston Public Library. I've actually never been to Boston Public Library. East 14th Street, Union Square. Wendy England says Vancouver Library is modern, but so is Vancouver. That's another place I want to go, Vancouver. And Montreal. Mike C., good to see you. Welcome. This is Union Square. Here we are at the Union Square train station. Here you can get the NQRWL45 and 6 trains. Ooh, Zozo Bob's is the Paramount Tower, has an LED lighting of the menorah. Zozo Bob, yeah, I gotta somehow send me a picture of that. I'd like to see that. Could you take a picture and maybe send it to my email? Now, the Paramount Tower is awesome. It's there in Miami. It's one of my favorite buildings down there. I think that one, well, the Freedom Tower is obviously the number one. I mean, by far. There in downtown Miami. But I would say after that, it's probably a close competition between the Paramount Building and 1000 Museum. Those are probably my 2 favorite. Here is the Union Square menorah. I think they forgot to light it up. Or maybe just it's out of battery, something like that. Mustapha's Quebec is a French zone. I think they mainly speak French, right? I think Montreal as well. Hey, Lemonade is here. Good to see you, Lemonade, on this very frigid, cold night in New York. Hey, Vivian says, I arrived with my mom and brother at the Freedom Tower in 1964. Thank goodness my brother was 14 and learned how to speak English. Whoa, that's crazy. That's awesome. That's a fantastic story. Wow, what a great story. That's fantastic. Now, I've never been inside the Freedom Tower. I think the next time I'm back in Miami, I think that's what I want to do. Tesla taxi there. John, Google has tons of pictures of it. I'll take a look when I get to Penn Station. Maybe since it's so freezing out and we're getting this polar vortex, maybe it'll snow on Christmas Day. Who knows? We'll see. Yeah, Ward Walker, I saw that too. So Elon Musk said he's going to step down as the CEO of Twitter from the Twitter poll, right? He did a Twitter poll and he's going to step down. If we had to take a little bit of a poll ourselves in the chat here, who do we think is going to take his place as CEO? Now, here's something, I've been very optimistic about Twitter. And I really, really think that if Twitter adds the ability to upload, I would say 4K quality video, long form video, that the site would just be fantastic. And supposedly that's what was promised, but we haven't gotten that yet. But I think once they sort of solve for that piece, because anytime you want to upload a piece of video to Twitter, I mean, it is like the poorest quality you could possibly have. Like, there's not even 1080p video, let alone 720p. It looks like 24p. It's like, which pixel is, you know, the guy? Really, really horrible. Yeah, I want to be GMO's long form video would be better than 4,000 characters. I agree. Time Lapse is Tom. Twitter's looking for a new CEO. You should apply for the position. Maybe. I think since there's so many brilliant people on Twitter, right? If you guys are on Twitter, you know, and you hang around financial Twitter, there's actually some very, very notable hedge fund managers, mutual fund managers, really, really A-class investors that I think could probably put out some really, really useful and helpful video content for sure. Hey, Donnie is here. So that's so true. Good to see you, Donnie. Yeah, like all of the smartest people from all different business segments, doesn't necessarily have to be the investment business. They're all active on Twitter and talk amongst one another. It's kind of crazy, just the access that we have, right? So if they could put out a long form video that's not in like 240p, I think that would give YouTube a run for its money. I'm not gonna lie. Here's another good shot of the Empire. Ren1018, good to see you. Ren10 says YouTube is the sickest online business, point blank. Well, Alphabet definitely generates a lot of advertising revenue, let's just say that. Okay, 22nd Street, Flatiron Building. Time lapse as Japan increased interest rates yesterday. Did they? I thought they just held rates steady. I don't think they increased interest rates, did they? I think that a time lapse. Are you sure? I think Japan held steady, didn't they? In negative territory. I could be wrong. I've been ridiculously busy. Ian says yes, increase. I know, Mike C, isn't that crazy? Mike C says amazing how much difference the gimbal makes. It makes an amazing difference, and this is me trying to hold it as steady as humanly possible. And you know what, by the way, the gimbal that I have is like the cheapest bottom of the barrel one you could possibly get. And it's pretty steady. For those of you who watch, you know, are frequent viewers of Walks from Wall Street, I think the stream is pretty steady. Tonight we do not have the gimbal. And it's like crazy. Now there's some professional grade gimbals out there that don't capture any movement. It's crazy. It's almost as if you couldn't even tell. Oh, look at the drone. There's a drone here. You guys see it? It's right there. I think they're flying it over Madison Square Park. Yeah, Nicholas Stura, there's about a 0.00% chance that I'm doing that. Actually, negative chance I'm doing that. Now, there's some gimbals that are crazy out there. Like, you know how on the normal gimbal, you get the regular up and down motion of walking? On the very expensive ones, it's like just steady. It's like this the entire time. So it'll be this, but you're just moving forward, which is, I think, a little bit too good almost. It's almost like it's not even a real video.
I drink like 7 cocktails.
Yeah, Michael Joseph's true.
Kill on my dog.
Nicholas Sturris is okay, Tom. I'm just telling you what the city recommends. I think if everybody did everything the way the city recommended it, the city would be in a worse place than it already is. And that's coming from a place of love. I love New York. I think New York's the greatest city on earth. Here we have the Christmas tree in Madison Square Park. FredX. I appreciate that, FredX. Oh, you know what I've been working on? So I'm working on a 2023 Walks from Wall Street recommended reading list. I think you guys are going to enjoy it. It's going to be coming out very soon. Yeah, I'm going to spend this week doing a lot of planning for 2023, trying to refine some of my processes, both for my regular job, like for work, and for the channel as well. There's going to be a lot of interesting and very cool stuff planned. I'm very excited for 2023. I think you guys are going to enjoy it. Yeah, this is Walks from Wall Street Book Club. I'm thinking about that too. I'm thinking about that as well. This place is always packed. This gelato place. Hey Marcy, what's up? Good to see you. Julia M, yeah, all that stuff. Oh, I gotta change hands here because this hand is frozen. I think we kind of talked about this when we were in Miami, but one of the main things I'm trying to do this year, which I also challenge you guys to do as well, is instead of setting goals, develop systems, like very, very specific systems that you can work every single day, if that makes sense. We got the FDNY coming over here. Hope everybody's all right. This place looks awesome. Look at this place. Oh, wow. 4.9% liquor infused ice cream. Doesn't this place look kind of, it looks very exclusive. I think that's the best word for it. Looks cool. Now, I don't drink alcohol, so I probably couldn't eat this. But very interesting. Look at it. So, liquor infused ice cream. Not bad. Yeah, so as I was saying, sometimes, in the new year, people say, all right, this is going to be my goal and I want to achieve it, right? But they don't really know the path, how to get there. So just like in anything, right? So during my time in, I guess, corporate America, in sales, right? You have like very, very clear tasks to do in order to achieve your goal / quota, right? And the only reason why I'm using this analogy is I think it's just the most normal one to me. So when I worked for a major company, you had a system, like you went through a training process, right? They sent you to Kansas City. It was like a 8 to 9 week training program. And you have to meet these metrics in order essentially to keep your job, right? So you make this amount of outbound calls, this amount of emails, run this amount of appointments. And generally speaking, if you actually do that activity, wow, look at this. Really nice view of the Empire here. Now, generally speaking, if you actually are honest with yourself and you're doing that activity, right? You're making the calls, you're running the appointments, you're doing the demos. Well, and you just work that system relentlessly. Well, you're gonna hit quota unless you're really doing something wrong, right? Because I think if the vast majority of people are honest with themselves and they're not, hitting quota or whatever, it's really because they're not doing the activity and not doing it appropriately or not doing it well, or they're just checked out and they just don't want to do the job, which is fine. But I think if you ever get to that point, you sort of got to move on. Anyway, what I'm saying is if you want to achieve, let's say, a goal or something like that next year, I wouldn't really focus too much attention on the end goal. I would really sit down and write out and be honest and say, if I want to get to X, what is the routine and the process that I have to work every day? And don't focus on the result, just focus on working that system, right? A systematic framework. And we talk about systematic frameworks to investing, systematic frameworks for everything, right? So, I don't know, that's what I'm going to try to do. I'm going to try to refine my life a little bit more, be a little bit more disciplined. I think we could all use more discipline in our lives. We are on the corner now of Broadway and West 30th Street. Hey, British Grace is good Tuesday evening, Tom. Welcome. Bill Rowlands is good evening. What's up, Bill? Thanks for joining us on this frigid, freezing cold night. You could actually see the Hudson Yards all the way in the back. Oh man, I hate that noise. Wow, this is all brand new here too. Public space, open 24 hours. Interesting. Custom-built American fire truck says, hey Tom, what did you call your less productive use of time? White time or white space? I call it white space. So that's another really, really good activity. But this activity takes a lot of time and discipline to do. But I think it's worth it. So here's what I would recommend everybody do is, without altering what you actually do every day, go to the store and buy like a little legal pad, right? Like a little notebook. And after you do anything, right? It could even be taking a shower, brushing your teeth, right? But really, really try not to alter what you do. Just record it anyway. And record the amount of time it takes you to do that thing. Even if it's just sitting on the couch and just have downtime or watching TV or scrolling through your phone aimlessly, don't try to fight the feeling of doing it. Just record the amount of time that you do it for, right? And you will be so surprised, like absolutely blown away with just how much white space, I call it, that you really, really, truly have during the day. And then from there, you could go back and optimize and audit your life. So let's say if you're at work and you're sitting at your desk, if you were to be really honest with yourself and ask yourself, how much actual time is spent actually working, right? Not just sitting around chatting with the coworkers at the water cooler, BSing on social media, texting your friends or scrolling through whatever, but on actual deep work, like super hyper focused on work. You'd be surprised. For most people, it's less than 3 hours a day. For most people, actually just pure work. And then you can go and optimize that. And even if you just increase your deep work by only 25% a year, think about how much you're going to get done in that time, right? You will be absolutely astonished. All right, 6th Avenue, 32nd Street. Here we are. Using people says, for me, I legit do 10 hours of pure work a day. Love that. I know Vivian says it was ridiculous when people smoked at work. I couldn't survive in that environment. I would die. How did people survive, sitting next to somebody in a cubicle smoking cigarettes? I don't know. And smoking in airplanes too? I don't know. I don't know how people did that. All right, since we're getting close to Penn Station, I'll tell you guys a quick story as it relates to sales, right? So this was about 3 years ago. the company that I worked for at the time, we went through a big merger, right? Went through a big merger. It was actually one of the biggest mergers of the year. That probably gives away where I went to work, where I worked. Anyway, so long story short, after the merger, there was we hired this company, right, to do sales training with us. And what that activity required was the top sales guys or girls on the sales team has to listen into the calls of the newest hires at the company in your region. So I was chosen to listen into some of the calls that these people were doing, right? And I mean, I don't know what happened or who chose to hire this particular individual, and it happened with like 5 people. And that's a lot out of a big data set like that. They were referring to the customer, and I'm not kidding. They were calling the customer boss. They were saying, "Hey boss, hey boss." And I was like almost at a loss for words. I was like getting choked up. And I could not even fathom how this particular person could have made it through rounds of interviews. And these jobs, like the base salary for these positions that I was listening to these calls, are like $80,000 base salaries. I mean, it's not huge, but you know, it's I mean, I don't know, maybe it was a fluke, but I go to the kid and I'm like, I said, let me give you a tip, all right? Never in a million years, ever, okay, especially when you're sitting in front of me, refer to any customer as boss, ever. I'm like, you will probably sell nothing and you'll be churned out of the company within a couple weeks. I'm like, go back and just read a basic business book or read How to Win Friends and Influence People and learn how to talk to people, okay? Now, it's one thing if you're with your buddies, you're having a couple of drinks, and you call your friend's boss, okay? But if you're calling on customers and like you're using that lingo, I just think that is so bottom of the barrel, totally unprofessional, that I just could not even believe it. Anyway, little story for you guys. So if you have a sales role, don't refer to the customer as boss, please. Don't do that. I couldn't even believe that it was a real thing, but you'd be surprised with the craziness you'll see. Matthew M. is so funny. I used to work with someone that would call all the customers boss. It was very unprofessional. Yeah, it's you have to know a time and a place, right? You're not talking to your buddies from the street, okay? You have to show a level of professionalism and respect, especially if the customer is older than you, right? Now, again, these were new college hires, right? So they're right out of college, so they don't have any experience, but, they'll learn. But I just really couldn't believe. Now, maybe it's normal. Again, I never did that. But maybe it's normal, these kids are coming out of college, they're 22, 23 years old, they're learning, right? So, maybe I'll give them a pass, but at the time, I just couldn't believe it. Yeah, Isaac C says, I don't even call my boss. It's just not professional. I could not believe it. I was like, my jaw was on the floor. I was like, jeez. Anyway, the story ends. We had to do these write-up reports, and this whole process was taking so much time. It was actually impacting my personal numbers, so I wound up leaving the company. It's one thing for the top salespeople to help your coworkers, and I'm all for that, but you can't turn us into trainers. We can't train these people. You got to hire people to train these people. You could give advice, right, and work alongside these people, but I can't spend, 2 hours out of my day listening in on calls. Like, that's just not even, I can't do that. All right, team, we're walking on the backside of Macy's. I never noticed this here, New York Golf Center. Hey, Elliott Wave Review, what's up? This is Tom. I had an investment professional call me bro many times. I guess it's to develop some kind of friendship, to make it seem easygoing or something. No, I don't know. Look, everybody's different, but in my opinion, it's just non-negotiable. Like not to be harsh, right? Maybe I just have a different personality, but if I was a manager, a sales manager, and I even heard my employees, like it would just be an automatic termination for me. It would be an automatic termination. And again, maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm old school, but I mean, I find that really, really disrespectful, especially, you know, if you're a 23-year-old kid, you're calling on a business owner who's 55 years old, who's put his blood, sweat, and tears into his business, and he has some punk cold calling him and calling him boss. Oh my God. This is a travesty. No, Marcy, not because they said bro, but if you said boss, like calling the customers boss, like repeatedly, and it's not a good look. In the enterprise space, it's not a good look. It's not good. Not a good look. Okay, 7th Avenue. 35th Street. Kitty purse is boss is like street lingo now. I see other men calling other men boss all the time. It's no big deal. Yeah, so again, this is in a corporate setting, right? You don't use street lingo. And again, my opinion, you know, maybe I'm wrong. I have a pretty open mind. But in my experience, right, in business, especially if it's a new prospect and it's a new customer, you don't use street lingo in a business setting for a prospect you've never spoken to before. In my experience. Now, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the world has developed a little bit more. But I don't know. It's just the way I was taught. But again, maybe I'm wrong. It's just like, you know, let's say you're in college, right? And you go up to your professor and you say, hey, boss. Like, that's disrespectful. Or if you're in high school and you call your teacher boss. I'm not sure that would go over too well. Again, you know, if you go home, right, and you are talking to your friends, no big deal because you're friends, right? But if you're trying to like sell a big deal to a corporation and you're, you know, calling a lower to mid C-level boss, I don't know. I think it's just off-putting to me. Zozo Bob's as well as Fargo fined $3.7 billion for violations today. You know, at this point, it's almost like the cost of doing business for these banks with how much money they have to pay in fines. Now, if you guys want to do some research on some really, really egregious stuff, we've been talking about gold and silver a lot, and a lot of these major investment banks have been caught manipulating the paper market or the derivative market of silver and gold. And there's many theories out there that suggests that is why this price of silver and gold are suppressed, is because a lot of these investment banks on the trading desk manipulate the derivative of the paper and they've been having to pay billions of dollars worth of fines for that. I think the latest bank to pay a major fine was the French investment bank, BNP Paribas. Wait, I just saw a funny comment, hold on. British Gray says, Tom, I used to be a security officer. One of my former coworkers called the client dog. He was terminated immediately? Oh my God. I haven't heard that one before. Oh my gosh. I don't even know how that would go over. I mean, I think he's probably intentionally trying to get fired. If he's calling a customer and calling the customer a dog, jeez. Yeah, I think that's way worse than boss. I haven't heard that one before, British Gray. That's crazy. All right, team. So we have a very nice view of the Hudson Yards right here. Hey, Elliot, we have reviews. Says, Tom, wouldn't you say it's best to adapt to your customer's tone? Like if your customer is using street lingo, drop some F-bombs and you can match their tone? I don't think I would ever do that. I mean, I guess, so I know Elliot Wave Reviews, it's a funny comment, but he does have an actual point to that. So on relative terms, right? You don't want to be a fake phony and, match your customer's personality exactly, right? But within reason. I always give this analogy. Now, if you look, and you should never do this in a business setting, but a lot of politicians do this, like a lot of them. If you watch political speeches in different geographical locations in other parts of the United States, you'll notice that they actually talk sometimes in other accents to try to relate to the community. That's overdoing it. That's like overkill. But yeah, I saw a comment that's also right. Study the work culture, things like that. I guess it also depends on, where you're working, right? And it also depends on, who you're calling into. If you're working at a startup company where, everybody is, in their 20s, then yeah, you could call your coworkers that. But I don't know, it just seems like if you don't know the prospect and you're calling them for the first time or you're emailing them for the first time, you should use like very appropriate language. Look, this is just what has worked for me. I just couldn't, I don't know, I couldn't do it with a straight face. I could never call a client boss. I don't know, could never do it. It just doesn't really sit right. Or bro, something like that. Let's actually try to take you guys, we'll go this way, into the Moynihan train station, but unfortunately the internet is not good in here. We'll test it out. We'll try it. This is now 31st Street. Once again, everybody, apologize for the craziness of the stream tonight. It's just been a wild day for me, and apologize for the shakiness of the stream. I don't have the gimbal, but tomorrow we'll be right back on track to our normal schedule, hopefully. No, using people. I don't. I think it's a good idea. Using people says, do you think it's a waste of money expanding Grand Central Station? I don't. I think it's actually pretty good. Oh my gosh, is it warm in here? Thank God. It's so cold, my glasses are fogging up. Now look at how beautiful it is in here. Amazing architecture. Hey, Lupe, Lupe, Lupe. I do. Big fan. Very unique. You got a post box Christmas tree. All right, let's try to go this way, but usually we start to buffer, but we'll try it. So here we are, the main Moynihan train station. I'm going to try to take you guys down here, but I think the internet is going to go out. We'll try it out though. You know, for a big train hall like this, they should make sure that you can get internet in here. But you pretty much can't get internet anywhere here, especially if you're trying to make a phone call. You cannot make any phone calls from in the building. So they have the coffee shop down here, but there's two specific ones. They have the Starbucks here. And I think once we walk from under here, I think the internet is going to go out once we walk under this little causeway here. We'll try. All right, how are we now? Hey, Autumn B says, so what will happen at the old Penn Station? The old Penn Station is normal. It's still in operation. They actually did a pretty good job. Remodeling it. Now, I tried to take you guys into the old Penn Station, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago on the stream, but I think the internet was also not good. All right, let's walk a couple more steps. We'll do some testing here since I'm already back at my location I need to be at anyway. They got a pretty cool ice cream place here. Let's check out some of the prices since we've been talking inflation. All right, now what do you guys think about this? Are these prices good, bad, egregious? What do you think? I think everything seems to be okay except the milkshake. $10 for a milkshake, pretty steep. Yeah, I think 10 is pretty steep for a milkshake. I mean, you can get a gallon of ice cream for $4, right? Wait, is that real? $10 for a milkshake? It's pretty high. It's really high. All right, let's try to walk a little bit further. You know, maybe they fixed the Verizon buffering problem here. We're actually seeming to be getting pretty good service. Let's do a test. We'll try to walk all the way to the back. We never get service here. This is fantastic. This is the Blue Bottle Coffee Shop. You actually have 3 coffee shops in the place. One is called Birch, which is over there. So you got 1, 2, 3. we're definitely going to start the buffer once we get back here. Yeah, we got to go back. Well, at least they... All right. Team, well, it looks like we'll end it there. I appreciate you all coming out to walk some Wall Street tonight on this crazy stream. I promise we'll be back to normal tomorrow. If you enjoyed the live stream, feel free to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. We go live almost every day at 8:30 p.m. Eastern time. And we'll see you tomorrow. So thanks everybody for coming. We will have the gimbal tomorrow, I promise. Mary, thank you. Touring different places. Steve, CR. Penelope, DM, FredX, Nicole, thank you so much. Macro A, Paul Medis, Dusty Cole, Josie, using people into the mighty bull. Have a good night wherever you are, because there's always a bull market somewhere and you just need to know where to look. Enjoy your Wednesday, and we'll meet right back here tomorrow talking about the housing market.